Since the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1976, only 15 women have been executed. Death row is mostly occupied by men. To be executed, you have to be charged with first-degree murder. There are 32 states with the death penalty, and 3 of those 32 will not impose the death penalty. There is a lot of history about the death penalty that helped form the standards for today. Also, there is controversy about if the death penalty should be used or not.
The death penalty has been around since before records were being kept.
The first execution took place in America in 1608. Captain George Kendall was going to be executed for being a spy for the Spanish. The method used to execute him was hanging.
In 1972, in Furman versus Georgia, the Supreme Court decided to abolish the death penalty.
In the Furman versus Georgia case, the death penalty is discussed in terms of it being unconstitutional. The Supreme Court made the final decision that the death penalty was not unconstitutional, but the statute of the death penalty was considered unconstitutional. Therefore, this case allowed the Supreme Court to outlaw the death penalty in 1972.
4 years later, in 1975, the Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty from the case Gregg versus Georgia.
In Gregg versus Georgia, the death penalty is brought up with the new statute in order to make the death penalty constitutional again. This new statute includes the bifurcated trials, which trials with a guilt phase and a penalty phase. The guilt phase involves the presentation of aggravated circumstance related to the murder. The penalty phase included the presentation of mitigating factors, which can help lessen a sentence.
In the past, the electric chair and hanging were used as ways of execution. Those methods are not used today.
Currently, you may mainly see lethal injection as the most popular choice of execution. Other methods include a firing squad and gas chamber.
Some people argue about execution methods violating the Eighth Amendment, but none of these methods have been decided to be unconstitutional.
In 2008, a case called Bays v. Reese came into the Supreme Court. This case brought up lethal injection being cruel and unusual punishment. The Supreme Court decided that lethal injection does not violate the Eighth Amendment.
Death row is mainly occupied by men.
Only 15 women have been executed since 1976.
According to deathpenalty.procon.org, there are currently 32 states with the death penalty. 3 of those states will not impose the death penalty.
In state courts, the only charge that you will get the death penalty is first-degree murder. In the federal court system, you can be placed on death row for treason. In the past, you could be sentenced to death for kidnapping and rape.
Not everyone can be put on to death row.
It is unconstitutional to put someone who is mentally retarded on death row. It is also unconstitutional to put a juvenile onto death row.
There's been many discussions about why we should or should not have the death penalty.
What are some of the reasons as why we should have the death penalty?
Having the death penalty can be beneficial for a few reasons. One being that having such a severe punishment may push people to rethink their actions and keep them from committing first-degree murder. Another similar reason is retribution. We must provide a serious consequence for the act of murder, otherwise more people could do it and we would live in a very unsafe environment. Why should we not have the death penalty?
Although the reasons of why we should have the death penalty are reasonable, there are also reasons why we should not impose the death penalty. One reason being that it is morally wrong. What makes it right for our government to punish someone by killing them because they killed someone? How does doing that bring justice to the system? Another reason is the cost of the death penalty. According to deathpenalty.org, California currently spends $184 million per year on the death penalty. They also estimated that in the next 5 years, they will spend about $1 billion.